All right, today we're jumping right into a question that honestly feels like it's straight out of science fiction, but it's very, very real. Can an AI actually be psychologically dangerous? Because right now there's a huge legal battle brewing that's going to decide who gets to write the safety rules for this incredible new technology.
And I mean, think about it. This is not some far-off hypothetical question anymore. The idea that the AI we're all starting to use every day could pose a real risk to our mental well-being, well, that's now at the very center of a major legal showdown.
And this whole debate has officially moved out of the lab and into the courtroom. You've got a bipartisan group of state regulators, we're talking attorneys general from both sides of the aisle, taking direct action. They're putting some of the absolute biggest names in the AI industry on notice.
So what is it that has these regulators so worried? Well, they're pointing to what they call a dangerous blind spot in how these incredibly powerful AI models are being built and, more importantly, released out into the wild for all of us to use. And you have to listen to the exact words the attorneys general are using here. They're not talking about simple bugs or glitches. They're calling out AI for producing, and I quote, sycophantic and delusional outputs. In other words, the AI just mindlessly agrees with whatever a user says, even if those ideas are harmful or completely detached from reality. And this can happen because, well, the models are often trained to be as helpful and agreeable as possible, a feature that can seriously backfire. And we're not talking about small mistakes here. In a really detailed 20-page letter, the AGs laid out a whole pattern of specific, harmful interactions. They're talking about cases where chatbots actually amplified thoughts of self-harm, where they totally failed to flag dangerous thinking, and even reassured users who had dangerous ideas. They even validated hallucinations. All of this, the AGs argue, could be violating existing state consumer protection laws.
So in response to these risks, the attorneys general aren't just, ringing the alarm bells. No, they've laid out a very clear, very actionable plan for these AI companies. They're basically demanding accountability. And their demands boil down to 4 key things. First, they want mandatory audits by independent third-party organizations. Second, rigorous safety tests before these things are launched, just like you'd expect for any other consumer product. Third, they want clear playbooks for how to respond when things inevitably go wrong. And finally, they want public transparency anytime a user is exposed to risky or harmful content.
And really, their main goal is to completely reframe the problem. They want these tech companies to treat harmful AI outputs with the exact same level of seriousness as a massive cybersecurity breach. It's about building a safety infrastructure for mental health, not just for protecting data.
Okay, but putting these demands into practice hits a pretty major roadblock. There's this huge tug-of-war brewing over a really fundamental question. Who actually gets to set the rules for AI in the first place?
And you've really got 2 completely competing visions here. On one side, you have the state AGs who see themselves as safety watchdogs. Their main focus is on preventing harm to users. And on the other side, you've got the federal administration, which is all about championing innovation and wants to limit what it sees as potentially restrictive state-level rules. The argument coming from the federal level is really captured in this one goal: to prevent AI from being destroyed in its infancy. The big concern here is that too much regulation, too soon, could basically stifle a technology that could be transformative. It's that classic debate, right? Caution versus innovation.
So let's bring this home. How does this high-level conflict, this tug-of-war, actually affect you and me? Whether you're just a casual user, a marketer, or a business owner, the real-world impact here is pretty significant.
And what makes this whole situation so important is the sheer scale of it. This letter from the AGs didn't just go to a couple of startups. No, it was sent to 13 of the biggest players in the entire industry. We're talking OpenAI, Google, Meta, Microsoft, and Apple. This is an industry-wide challenge.
This kind of regulatory pressure is creating a whole new reality. All of a sudden, being responsible for the AI tools you use has become a real, tangible legal risk. Being transparent about how you use AI is no longer just a nice-to-have. It's becoming a critical way to build trust. We could soon see a world where AI safety audits are just standard practice, all while companies have to figure out how to navigate this really complex, growing patchwork of different state laws.
At the end of the day, what we're witnessing here is a fundamental reframing of the entire conversation around AI. For the last couple of years, the big race was all about being the first to roll out these incredible new tools. Now the challenge is shifting. It's about being the first to deploy them safely, ethically, and responsibly.
And all of this leaves us with the huge, unresolved question at the very heart of this debate. As this technology gets woven more and more into our daily lives, who do you trust more to write the rules that will keep us safe? The people who are actually building the AI, or the people we elect to regulate it?